We are so excited to have you with us today for the first of this year's She Matters webinar series. For folks who might be new, welcome, my friend. We host webinars on a monthly basis that are dedicated to the needs of Black girls. As we often say, our girls are not broken, our girls do not need to be fixed. It is the systems that need to be fixed, and it is the systems that we are working hard to repair so that they can thrive. And today we have an amazing conversation that will feature our young people, you all. So we'll give you some more time to get into the virtual building.
My name is Tawanda Clark Edgar. I have a training and consulting company called Light Social Change Agents. Gwen's Girls allows me to come back in many different capacities, but they allow me to come back and have the privilege of working with our girls from Begala. And we really talk about this topic every year. We build awareness around sex trafficking, human trafficking, and around teen dating violence. And when I tell you that every year something new comes up, I am always amazed at the new information. This year, what our teens are going to be talking about is why they may not talk to the adults about some of the things that they're experiencing as it relates to human trafficking and teen dating violence. So this video that you're going to see is of them, us doing our virtual roundtable. Our plan was to be in person doing a podcast, but the winter weather wouldn't allow that. So you will see us on screen doing that.
Thank you, Ms. Tawanda. Amy, we will turn it to you for the first part of that conversation. And the girls are going to define for us human trafficking and dating violence.
Hey y'all, it's Big Mama, aka Myra, or the Queen. That's what my sisters call me. This is our podcast, Keeping It Real While We Heal. And today we'll be talking about human trafficking and teen dating violence. I am joined with.
I'm Jayla, and I've been at Gwen's Girls for about 3 years now.
I'm Kennedy, and I've been at Gwen's Girls since 6th grade.
I'm Jasmine, and I've been at Gwen's Girls since I was 8 years old.
I'm Tabby, and I've been at Gwen's Girls for about 3 months.
I'm Miss Donisha, and I am a Gwen's Girls mentor.
My name is Tawanda Clark Edgar. They say Gigi for life. I've been at Gwen's Girls for quite a bit of time in various roles, but now I am supporting the young ladies that you see on this Zoom call with communication and public speaking.
I am Miss Eminesia, and I had the luxury of being a Gwen's Girl, and now I work for Gwen's Girls as a program assistant.
Yeah, that's the team. Now, like I said, my name is Myra. I've been at Gwen's Girls for 3 years, and I'm an emerging leader. I want to explain what teen dating violence is and what human trafficking is. So, teen dating violence, I may explain it in young terms. It's basically how when you're in a relationship with somebody, whether it be a man or a girl or a boy, and that person is emotionally or physically abusing you. Now, you might be like, oh, well, what's emotional abuse? Somebody belittling you, somebody talking down on you. In a relationship, we're supposed to be uplifting the other. You're supposed to give and receive. If somebody's talking down on you and belittling you, how are you gaining anything? You know, that's it. And then human trafficking is the exploitation of not necessarily younger people, because older people can be human trafficked as well. But it's the exploitation through force, fraud, or coercion of for labor or sex. And it actually happens a lot in Pittsburgh. It's actually not talked about enough simply because it's not an issue that's brought up. So that's why we use this month to bring awareness for the issue. Right?
Right. Excellent.
Thank you, Amy. And we are going to dig a bit deeper into some of the conversations or the topics that the girls lifted up. I'm especially already impacted by how Myra said, let me use the language that we use, because as we talked about, Sarah and Tawanda, there oftentimes is a bit of a language barrier. So tell us a little bit about what you think about the definition, but also data, grooming, and adultification bias and how they all play a role. I'll turn to Sarah.
I will absolutely share some very important statistics and why this is something that we need to keep talking about, and conversations we need to keep having with each other, but also especially with our young people. But the fact is that Black women and girls are more vulnerable to sex trafficking than any other race. And 40% of all victims and survivors of sex trafficking are found to be Black. And that was a 2-year study through the US Department of Justice in 2023. So again, disproportionately, Black and brown girls are affected in this sex trafficking and exploitation. And when we talk about sex trafficking and exploitation, oftentimes we talk about, or we think about, what we see in Hollywood and what we see in movies as far as human trafficking and trafficking in general. And it just really is not that way. What happens more often than trafficking is exploitation. It's a more subtle thing that happens, and it happens, as you'll hear throughout today's presentation and the girls' podcasts. This is what is happening more often for our young people. And to be clear, we're talking about girls today because this is the Black Girls Equity Alliance, but this happens for boys as well. So just being very clear that this does happen. It is not gender specific. 1 in 6 endangered runaways are reported in the United States to have likely been sex trafficked or victims of exploitation. And 20% of human trafficking victims are children. Again, 20% of all human trafficking victims are children. And the average age that a young person presents in exploitation and trafficking is 12 years old. So that's why this is so important. And I think, we talk a lot about Black girls are disproportionately represented in this trafficking, exploitation, and all forms of trafficking. So not just sex trafficking, but drug trafficking, organ trafficking, all of those. So Black girls are overrepresented in this work and in this field and in sex trafficking. Tawanda, did you have anything you wanted to throw in there?
I think you did a great job at really touching on the statistics. And I do want to say this because sometimes when we hear Black girls, it makes people think, oh, well, that's not my demographic. I don't have to worry. But really, this is a significant problem for all children, particularly children who don't have the information and the knowledge. One of the things that I do want to highlight is I want to go back to the video and I want to talk a little bit about what Myra said in reference to, let me put this in our language. The reason that it has to be in their language is if it is not, then there is a communication gap and often we cannot give them the help that they need. I remember when this first became an aha moment for me, probably maybe 8 years, 9 years ago when I started doing this work. I was actually working with adults who kept using the term trafficking. And then I went back to talk to some of the young people as I was doing work with them. And they were saying things like, yeah, Bay bought me this. And, my Jitney driver did this for me. And Boo did that. And I was like, well, how old are, these people that you're talking about? Because you have your nails done, your hair done, you have your jewelry. And that's when I learned that what they were talking about, who was actually the trafficker, was maybe a 50-year-old man, a 40-year-old man who was in essence an adult. The problem with having different language is that a lot of times they can't recognize a trafficker for what it is. If we don't speak in the terms that they understand, then there is a communication gap. So I like the idea that she said, let me put this in the terms that, we understand and other young people understand as well. She did use the term trafficking. And if you go through any community where there's a higher risk for this to occur, and this exists in many of our communities across the state of Pennsylvania, internationally and nationally, but you do see the sign trafficker that's up a lot. I remember driving with a young person and saying, do you know what that means? And she was actively involved in the life of trafficking and said, I have no idea. So, the signs say that this is what we're going to do to help you, but they don't understand the language or the terminology that's behind it, which is why it's so important for us to have these conversations.
And then Tashara, you had talked about grooming. So grooming is it's a trust-based and relationship-based kind of process that happens. And it starts by someone with not so good intentions viewing someone as having vulnerabilities. So a vulnerability could be limited relationships, isolation, could be self-esteem issues, self-worth issues, maybe a sick parent or an unattached a parent who's not super involved, busy parents who are working. And I can just say from my own experience, so I am a survivor of exploitation. And I went home every single day to a two-parent household with two parents who very much loved me, cared about me, paid attention to me, and were on top of what I was doing. They just literally had no idea that there was this older man out here who had gotten my attention because I wasn't necessarily feeling super good about who I was, where I fit in the world. And I didn't feel super accepted in a lot of the spaces that I was in. And he was able to do this grooming process and again, kind of create trust. He lured me in with lots of fancy shoes, jewelry, hair, all of that kind of stuff. And then he gained my trust. And then I started believing in him, talking to him more, sharing more information. And then he was filling a need, attention being the number one need, right? Things that my parents couldn't afford, fancy things, giving me the things that other people around me maybe had that I would have fit in better if I had. And then he started to kind of draw me away from my friends and isolate me and create tension in between those relationships. And then what would have eventually started to happen, and this cycle again is again, those vulnerabilities, gaining trust, filling a need, isolating, ruining relationships and friendships, pulling that person into their world more and more, then abuse, and then maintaining control. And this again is what happens more often than anything, is that grooming process. So when you hear young people talking about, you know, in my age, it was the sugar daddy. That was kind of the language that we used. But just again, and it doesn't necessarily have to be someone older, and it doesn't have to be a male-female relationship. It can also be another female. It can be male-male relationships. But again, that grooming process is really how this happens more often than, this isn't the Taken movie where kids get snatched off the street. Again, like I said, I went home to two parents every day and no one had any idea what was going on in my world. And I think that that is what is happening more often. And that's why when they say it's happening in our own backyards and right in front of our own eyes, that's what they mean. It's those subtle versions of exploitation.
And if I could just elaborate on that as well, a lot of times when we think about young people who go on the run or who run away, we think maybe they're gone for a week or maybe they're gone for a month. And that may be the case. But for a lot of our young people, they're only gone for maybe 4 hours at a time and they come back because, you know what, these traffickers are not going to pay the overhead of what it would take to house and feed a child for a period of time. So children may be going and coming right back. They will always have a cell phone, and these traffickers will always have a way to get in touch with them. When we talk about the grooming process too, I just want to go into this a little bit more, Sarah, that it could be peer to peer, right? That there's a peer that says, hey, you know what? I have, you know, these really nice friends. I got this really nice guy I want to introduce you to. Why don't you come to this party with me? So it could be another girlfriend that's the same age or another guy friend that is the same age. And now what we don't want to ignore is the fact that we have the internet and technology that's maneuvering in a totally different way. When we went into the pandemic, we had more young people online than ever before and less adults online to actually monitor them, right? So that's scary in and of itself. And then we have new things that are happening with technology where people are actually able to use artificial intelligence. And Sarah and I have a story that we'll tell you about later on where artificial intelligence was actually used to manipulate and coerce, you know, is being used to manipulate and coerce children into this life of trafficking.
Thank you all.
And I
So
think one of the
Oh.
other things you wanted us to talk about was adultification.
I was about to ask, yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that we live in a society today where we have normalized this sexually on fire kind of culture. And black girls historically have been marginalized, have been hypersexualized, have been adultified by our society, by the way they are viewed, not because of anything they have done, but because of how they are viewed. And again, this goes back to historical trauma. This goes back to generations of this happening, but it is believed by lots of people, and lots of people view Black girls as less innocent, more adult-like. Sometimes their bodies are shaped more adult-like earlier. They are less nurturing, less protection. They deserve less protection. They deserve less support. They deserve less comfort. They are more independent, and they know more about adult topics, and they know more about sex. And this again is very distorted views of Black girls and Black women. And I think that that leads very often to this idea that they are older than what they actually are. And I think that that then normalizes this idea that I can approach them or encounter them like they're adult women, and they are not.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is such a rich conversation. I have so many thoughts. I don't want to get ahead of myself because I know we want to hear from the girls again, but just to put a pin in two things. Number one, Sarah, thank you for bringing up queer and trans youth. Understanding that many have been put out of their homes, many have had to flee their homes because of violence and abuse, and oftentimes for survival purposes, they're going right into the hands of traffickers. The other thing is, I'm thinking about the role that other people play on behalf of the trafficker. So, Tawanda, your point about other girls doing the grooming, I immediately thought of Jeffrey Epstein, the notorious millionaire trafficker from New York who was flying young girls all around the world and abusing them horrifically. But there were two layers to that before the girls even got to him as the abuser. It was Ghislaine Maxwell, his girlfriend,
Right.
so a woman doing the bidding, and then she was having other girls do the recruitment.
Right. We see that happen a lot, right? Because they communicate with their peers, peer to peer. So if someone is already in the life, they may be put in a situation where they have to bring additional girls into the life. They're held to a certain standard. Maybe for their own safety, there are certain things that they have to do. So as a result of that, they may do some of the recruitment as well.
Thank you for that reminder. Amy, can you go to the next portion of the video, please? Because we really want to also chat about and hear from our girls about why some of the teens actually don't tell their parents and the adult caretakers in their lives.
I'm sorry. Why do some teens hesitate to tell their parents about like the unsafe situations that they're in or that they encounter?
Okay, so like teens might feel like their parents will scold them about it or make them feel like, oh, we should have done this different or that, or they'll be scared that they're going to get in trouble. Because sometimes parents don't understand that teens, sometimes they just don't understand other things. And we just need to talk to an adult like, hey, if something's happening, you're the adult, you're wiser, you've been around more. So whenever we go to talk to them, we don't want to get scolded or in trouble because we're going to somebody we could trust.
I do also feel like, especially with like, I'll say older parents, because I don't think young parents really be acting, usually be the older parents, but they to overreact a lot. Like they'll hear something and they go the fullest extent when they hear it. So it make you not even want to tell them anything. Like my nana is very dramatic. I don't want to tell her nothing because she's screaming Bloody Mary. She acts like there's so much going on, and it'd be like it's not really that deep. So when I face bigger issues, that tends to not be the person that I call because I know how she's going to react to a certain situation.
That's good feedback.
I would like to add on as well. Some teens may feel like their parents aren't going to listen to them, or they may gaslight them. Because a lot of parents, let's say, like I recall maybe whenever I was a teenager, I was coming up. I was telling my parents about like a lot of mental issues that I was going through around the time, and My stepmother kind of wrote it off like, okay, well, I've been depressed too. Get that work done, get that school work done. But I'm going through real life human emotions and real life human things. And this is a part, like this is a particular time where I need your best interest. I need you to guide me. And it just feels like you're putting the onus to the side. Like you're just putting the onus on someone else. Like, so that's also why I believe teenagers don't feel comfortable with telling their parents.
Especially because a lot of older Black parents, they don't believe in therapy or like getting mental help. So like you really have to deal with that on your own instead of like getting the help that you actually deserve a lot of the time. If that makes
Right. Yeah.
Also,
And
the fear of your parents telling your business and
Yes.
telling, what's going on with you, wanting it to be confidential between you and your parent, because it's hard enough even being able to open up to your parent. So the fact that the fear of, someone else knowing your business or multiple people knowing your business could also, yield you from being open and honest with your parents.
A lot of
it's not
parents also think that we got it. Oh, sorry, Mara.
Oh
no,
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, my
A
bad.
lot of parents think that we got it easier than them too,
mhm. It be jealousy, no shade. Like now,
right? But like back in my days, we had to deal with this, that, and the third.
but this is not your.
So you think that there is a disconnect, that parents don't understand it
Yeah,
from your perspective and what you're going through nowadays, right? That
I
definitely.
feel like that's very valid.
Mhm.
One thing that I usually say is a lot of parents these days forget that they were also a teen at once.
Yeah.
At one point in time, they were also, those that made the mistakes, those that made choices that they shouldn't have, and they did not care what anybody else thought about their choices. So just being open-minded is one thing that, could benefit.
Yeah. Like they compare their old problems back in what, like
Okay.
200 BC, compare our problems to 2025.
Oh, wow.
Different.
Well, somebody who was
But
back there in the BC era, according to you guys, what I will say is there are some similarities. I think what the differences are now is that you guys have technology in a way that we didn't have it then. But there are some similarities. I think that what people, I think you're talking about my demographic maybe, but people in my demographic need to remember is that there are some differences. And what we want to do is we want to listen to you non-judgmentally so that you do have a space to come and understand that we will support you and we will help you. Sometimes there is an initial shock though, right? But after that initial shock is over, we really want to be in a space where we give you the support that you need. Boy, did they come for the older parents.
200 BC. My goodness.
Right. Right. But I think it's relevant what they said, right? What I'm hearing them say is that they want to be able to come and say, hey, this is what's going on. Sometimes they feel that their situations are so difficult that because of the age that we don't understand or we won't understand. Little do they know, we really do. The only thing that might be different is the technology, right? But what I did hear were some things that are definite aha moments. The non-judgmental is very important, right? The not overreacting, even though there's we may overreact at some point, there is a calmness that comes where we get it together and say, okay, this is what we need to do.
I also heard a tone that oftentimes the adults talk more than they listen. And that it would be more helpful if we listened more. And I think, especially when it comes to that grooming and the more subtle, it for me, I didn't even know what was happening to me was wrong or dangerous. I really didn't. And I didn't have any idea of where this could potentially lead. And that grooming process happens so gradually. It's about gaining trust. So now I'm in this place where I trust this person, and this person is in my ear and maybe telling me that my parents don't understand me, or they won't accept you anymore and things like that. And I think that also keeps our kids from saying things. And then just a lack of awareness is still out here that this is even happening. And again, when things are so normalized in our culture with our music, what we see our friends doing, what we see on TV and Hollywood and movies, how do we know what's really going on here is wrong?
Mm.
How do we know that we even need help?
And for a lot of our young people, when we talk about things that travel throughout generations, for a lot of our young people, for a lot of families, maybe they have not had an opportunity to observe a healthy relationship. Maybe they have, lived in a home where there was intimate partner violence. There, was not a good representation of what a healthy relationship, looks like. And we're talking about teen dating violence too. So, when we talk about how do teens even become involved in teen dating violence, there are some of the same similarities. There's that power and control that exists in trafficking relationships where, that person wants to isolate them, keep them away from their family, make decisions for them. The same coercion and manipulation that exists in trafficking relationships also exist in intimate partner violence relationships and those teen dating violence. So those cycles of abuse, if a child has grown up in a situation or observed abuse, they're more likely to be victimized as a result of it. So if we haven't taken the time to mitigate, perhaps sexual abuse when they're 5 to help them resolve those issues, that makes them vulnerable to those situations when they're in their teen years.
And if generationally society has taught me as a young Black girl that I am not as valuable, right? I don't have as much power or voice, then why would I exercise it? I don't even know that I have it to exercise.
Or the way that they exercise it may be in a way that society doesn't understand. Because
Exactly.
they may be standing up for themselves, but it looks like I'm angry. It looks
Right.
like I'm upset.
Attitude.
It looks like I'm non-compliant. But
Yep.
in that sense, what they're doing is saying that I don't feel safe.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why at Gwen's Girls, we spend so much time talking about what happened, not what's wrong with you, but what happened for you, right? The why behind the behavior. Because those behaviors do absolutely come out and look differently and are perceived differently.
Miss Sarah, if I can just jump in for a moment, because I know many people are probably wondering, what are the resources? How can we help our young people? And we're going to get to that in just a minute. But before we get there, what was it for you? You mentioned not even knowing that you were being groomed. What helped you to kind of have that light bulb go off in your mind? Was there anything in particular or anyone?
No, so I know this isn't necessarily the space I can say this, but all but for the grace of God. So my potential trafficker, the person who was exploiting me, coercing me, and manipulating me, ended up getting arrested and picked up on RICO violations of prostitution, drug trafficking, and gun trafficking. And I was released from that space and kind of just went back to my other regular life. Really not even recognizing what had just happened, what could have happened, and where that could have gone for me. And it wasn't until my adult life, I was in a space at an FBI training on commercial sexual exploitation, that it started to click for me. And I started to realize just how close I came, and that I was being manipulated, and that I was being coerced into things and I was being groomed. And that led me into spaces and places that I would not have done. And then, like Tawanda was just talking about, as a teenage girl, I had a lot of behaviors that looked very problematic and got me into a lot of trouble, and got a lot of assumptions, labels, and all of those other things thrown in my direction. And it looked like I was out of control, but I was communicating all these things that were going on for me. And I just didn't have the words for it. And I didn't end up having the words for it until many years later.
Wow.
Yeah. And now I work in, this space, Gwen's Girls, but I also work in a space helping women who are in a supportive housing program that are fleeing trafficking or exploitation.
So that sounds like one tangible resource. What others do you have to share? You both.
So we have a lot of resources, but did we want to go to do another clip of the girls, or was that it for the girls?
Let's do it. No, we have one more clip. It's
Want
why
to
do you think
resource
young girls
at
stay?
the end as we do question and answers as well.
Yep. So the next clip is why do you think young girls stay? Hearing from the girls. Amy?
Why do y'all think a lot of young girls stay in these situations? Like, why do you think they stay?
Either they don't want to hurt the other person's feelings, for one,
Or
or
and
they
they
just
crave that attention.
exactly,
Mm.
or they just want to stay in the same cycle over and over because they said sorry, they apologize, I'm gonna be better, lies on top of lies.
I think it also has something to do with parents. Like when you don't have your mom in your life or you don't have your dad, you're craving to fill that void. And the person that you're in a relationship with, whether what they do to you, they're filling that void, or at least you are under the impression that they're filling that void. But the whole time they're actually just hurting you way more than you were before. They're breaking you down more than you already were broke. Because instead of pouring into yourself and helping yourself, you poured into them and now your glass is empty.
Right.
And then also to add on to that, I also think that whenever it comes to parents, let's get back into the parents. Um, it's very it's important it is important that the parents teach the child self-love so that they don't come in contact with things where, like, they can be in predicaments where people can manipulate them and get them into doing things that they aren't okay with doing, or getting them to accept things and settle for things whenever they're not okay with settling and accepting these things. So it's very important that you ahead of time you kind of give your child like a guidance, like a form of guidance to the warning signs. But yes.
Thank you all. So we'll get back to the resources.
Yes. So resources, tons of them. I know we wanted to share a little bit of a story about something that we've recently encountered and something that was kind of new for us, at least this certain component of it.
Right. So, I really had not been doing a lot of work in this field. And I guess I'm supposed to be in it because it keeps calling me back in one way or another. I just can't seem to get away from it. But one of the things that is very striking to me is even when I think we've done this segment or these segments enough, it seems like we've not done it enough. There is still a need to educate, to build awareness. And so I guess we're going to continue to be doing this annually because every year something comes up right around the time that we are providing this information, teaching the community and our girls. And the newest thing is it's artificial intelligence. And what's happening now is in the past, maybe a girl or a guy might send a picture, and that picture might be what the trafficker used to further engage them into being in the life of trafficking. So if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm going to post this picture online, or I'm going to send it to your parents. And so in the earlier days, a lot of young people or young people who don't have the information would be nervous, and they might be manipulated and coerced into doing things that they didn't feel safe or healthy doing. Now they don't even have to send a picture of themselves because they are using artificial intelligence to create these nude, explicit pictures of young people and then saying to them, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, we will put these pictures online. And they're still using the same strategies and the techniques to manipulate. That was very new. And so, it amazes me that how important it is for us to stay on top of this. So when we think about resources, I'm going to shout out Gwen's Girls because they've been doing this work since the inception when the organization was created by Commander Gwen Elliott because she recognized there were issues with Black girls. So that would be one of the resources that I would immediately shout out because of the work that's being done here. And then, Sarah, I'll go to you and let you, give the plethora of resources that you have as well.
Yeah, so I actually want to share a page that has some resources on it. And this is very relevant, wonderful resources. Oops, there we go. Love 146 is online safety guide. So it is a website that has, so a lot of my training outside of real life experiences came from Love 146. It is a website that has a ton of resources as well and has online safety guides. So some of those guides will help you learn and understand safety settings, privacy settings on all kinds of different apparatuses, whether it's a iPhone, whether it's laptops, also how to look for and recognize different deep fakes, AI stuff that might happen. Also helping you link to other resources. There's also a parent guide for parents, tips for teens, tips for how to communicate with your teen, tips for how to create a safety plan with your teen. So a great resource. They also do lots of trainings. They have different webinars also that happen. NetSmart's tip sheet on basic internet safety. So NetSmart's also is a great website for tons of tips. They also have tips for teens, don't listen. They have tips for parents on what is the new lingo. What are the new emojis that kids are using? What are the abbreviations that our teens are using today? So it's very helpful for us as adults to kind of get a better glimpse into their world and what teens are doing. And then also tips on sexting and sextortion, which is part of what happened here in that situation that Tawanda was referencing. Blue Campaign is one of my very favorites. So Blue Campaign is a Department of Human Services through the government. It's Homeland Security. And they have a website. They have tons of videos, clips. They have Mia's story. They have Caden's story, different video clips that you can watch on the different types of trafficking and the different types of exploitation and coercion, what parents can do. Also, a lot of lingo is available on there. And they also have on their website links to actually YouTube videos on how to change settings, not just a worksheet on how to change settings, but they show videos on where to find the different things to change settings. They also talk a lot about some of the social media apps that are out there that are very dangerous. For instance, Roblox, because that is apps within apps and you can hide things, and just different things to look for in terms of what your kids are doing on social media and different ways to prepare them for safety on social media. Bark is an app that you can get on your phone that can change children's privacy settings and can kind of monitor some of their social media. And then Take It Down is an awesome website and an awesome program that will help take down any images that either were put on or put out in social media willingly or otherwise, otherwise permitted or otherwise, but help kind of scrub and delete those things so that they're not out there all over the place. So those are some great websites and great resources. And then also the National Hotline is also a very good resource. So hold on one second. Oops. So here is the National Hotline, which is Trafficking and Exploitation National Trafficking Hotline. And you can text or call. And then here's some other websites that are relevant, but not specific to trafficking or exploitation.
Is there a way that we can, excuse me, share these resources and this hotline sheet with the folks who signed up for the webinar today?
Yeah, I will absolutely send it to you, and however you want to send it, share it, put it on Kajabi, however you want to do it.
Thank you. This is so helpful. Let's open it up for a bit of Q&A. Questions for our panelists, thoughts, reactions to today's conversation. We would love to have you chime in for some discussion. We know this has also been a heavy topic.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. My name is Janice. I struggle with a lot of things that you guys were discussing as far as teens. Um, I'm experiencing some things right now with my teenager, um, especially on the sites because I don't know too much about handling my phone as far as looking up different apps to stop things and certain things like that. So this is very helpful. I want to say to you ladies, thank you. Right now I'm struggling with, just her meeting different people on these websites like Snapchat and, giving them locations and things like that. That is very dangerous, and it's like once I talk to her about it, sometimes she feels like I'm being that mean mom. That's not the case. You know, um, I'm just a very concerned mother. I did reach out to, it might even be this group. I'm not sure, but it's a girls group, where I signed her up for. My sister had actually referred me. And it's basically to stop me from having to put her, in like a juvenile place or different things like that because of her actions on different things that she's going through. It might be this program. I'm not sure. I
It
haven't.
is.
Excuse
Yep,
me.
it is.
Are you Sarah? Are you Sarah?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hi, Miss Sarah. Okay. My sister had gave me this meeting to join, and I didn't know that this was the same meeting. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to finally put a face to you. Thank you.
Exactly.
So, well, Miss Sarah knows a lot of the things that I've been experiencing because we have talked. So I just want to thank you guys, and I wanted to join in to figure out different ways to stop those type of things. So you guys gave me that information, and I just appreciate it because I'm at the point to where sometimes I don't know what to do next.
I would
Yeah.
also encourage you to watch the full YouTube video with your daughter and
Okay.
with all of the girls. Sometimes they don't hear it from us. Sometimes they hear it from their peers. It
Yes.
might help you if you watch the YouTube video in its entirety and then you can have a discussion, listening non-judgmentally, right?
Yes.
But that might help. So I would encourage you to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think, it's really hard. We're living in times right now where parents are not the primary influence of their children.
Hmm.
No matter how connected, no matter how present you are, there's just so many other influences out there. And unfortunately, they're flashier
Yes.
and they're more attractive. And our kids are leaning into those because they're
Yeah.
hearing more.
Because they think that mom doesn't know everything. They think that moms aren't cool. So I understand what you're saying, but in all actuality, it's not about a mom being cool. I'm just trying to be her mother and just raise her the right way because I had a struggle growing up and I don't want her to turn into what I had to go through.
Right. And unfortunately, those other influences don't always have their best interests.
Mm-hmm.
Think
Mm-hmm.
our kids understand that. They think that they take it at surface value. If this person says they care about me, then they must. If they buy,
Yeah.
they must care about me.
Yeah.
Truth is, that's grooming. That's exactly what it is. And traffickers, exploiters are really good at what they do. That's why this is $99 billion industry per year.
Yes.
Good at what they do.
Yes.
They know how to do it, and they know exactly who to do it with.
Yes.
And the numbers keep going up. And I think the better that we can educate our young people, the better we are at mitigating the risk and the challenges around it. What I will say is when we have these webinars and we have these opportunities to educate, I can see the light bulbs going off in the heads of the young people. Like, oh, is that what that is? Or okay, I didn't know. And
Mm-hmm.
they share and you get to hear a lot more about what is actually going on.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do want to share too is that, our young people, even if we're not the safe space, and if I could just talk about one of the stories that happened with AI more recently, one of the things that the mom said, and she gave me permission to share this, is that she was okay because you heard the girl say in the video, I'm afraid to tell my mom because my parents are going to say I should have known better. I shouldn't have even been
Yeah.
in situation. She was happy that that little girl had someone that she could turn to,
Mhm.
another caring adult that was safe, that could help them. In that case, it was, she went to the school, she, was able to reach out to some other caring adults. They were able to support her through the process to get her the help
Yes.
she need. So we do want to have a support system for our young people. We always hope that it is us, but if it's not us, is it a place like Wins Girls? Is there a school guidance counselor that they can talk to? Someone that they feel, comfortable talking to? What they
My
want to know is that they can come to us and we're not going to overreact, is what I heard you
Mhm.
saying.
Mhm.
So it looks like we have another question and it's showing my name and I'm not sure who.
It's me, it's Kathy.
Okay.
I couldn't find my link, so I'm like, Sarah, get me in here. But hi everybody. I love all of you. Obviously, you guys know that. And I'm sitting here just listening and absorbing all of this in. And all I can keep thinking is like, how do we get these girls on the road? How do we get them to visit local high schools? I am like on board to create this platform because like I believe in the it's one of like the peer to peer, you know, just just seeing those girls. You guys know I love Gwen's Girls. It's like my favorite. I refer everybody to Gwen's Girls. I drive Sarah crazy.
No, you do not.
Okay, I don't know, but I just to see those girls feel safe enough to make that YouTube, like that's huge, because I think that that is one of our biggest barriers is that we don't provide truly safe spaces for our young girls. You know, they're never in a space where they can share without being judged or share without people repeating it or share, with all the things. And I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there. You know how I feel about us being able to create anything we want in our communities. But could you imagine, like, if we got them into Clariton and Woodland Hills and Penn Hills and all the places just for a quiet, conversation where Tawanda was there and Sarah was there and just the girls, and they got to create this safe space, and then they connected with other girls. And I don't know where it could go, but I see that being like super beautiful. And because unfortunately, just with the position I am in the community, I hear these stories all the time from the young girls because I'm such a safe space for them. But they really don't, we don't have spaces like this through the county. And sometimes, um, maybe they don't need to be fully in Gwen's Girls, but they need that peer to peer, you know, connection. So I'm just putting that out there. And thank you all for everything that you all do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. I would agree that peer-to-peer definitely works. When, we were actively involved in doing this work, it was often those people with lived expertise, peers that were older who were able to bring girls out of the life, were able to support them in testifying in court when they needed to testify. So, yes, there's something to be said about the peer-to-peer relationship. They do turn to their peers indeed.
Yeah, and I mean, not an expert, I don't have the data in front of me, but I would assume if there are any models that have been proven effective, it's probably something to do with that peer-to-peer.
Absolutely, it is. In earlier days, I would, sit in meetings and all you would hear is it was almost like it was a hopeless case that, young people went into trafficking, that was it. But we have been able to see real success stories as a result of sharing information, providing knowledge, and then providing support systems for it as well.
Right. Yeah.
One other thing that's just coming to my mind is that we created a superintendent's cohort a few years ago. Our superintendent created it, and we have 10 school districts that come together twice a year to talk about, things like this and what we're trying and things like that. So I could keep you all posted on that because that might be, if some type of peer-to-peer programming is something that you guys could build out in schools, like you could present it to them all at one time, because I don't know why I feel so deeply in my soul that this would be something beautiful for so many girls across the county to just see these girls.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Totally agree. And just shout out to the whole Begala team, especially your leadership, Ms. Tawanda, because it's not even that they were able to share their experiences and their knowledge and wisdom and skills, but they also facilitated that. And I peeped that, just their ability to keep conversation moving is something that every leader is a skill that every leader needs. And I'm just so proud of the work that we're doing and where they've come as Begala.
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
proud of them
And
too.
and also like the way they spoke with confidence, like she was giving us like definitions of sex trafficking. It wasn't like she was giving us, definitions of what the hottest shoes are. You know what I'm saying? Or where to get all the stuff, right? But the way she was talking, like I was picking up on it, she was sure of herself, and she was talking with such confidence that, you know, I don't know, it was beautiful, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, because I did have a question as we close, you all, about the confidence piece and like the esteem building, because that also seems to be a critical part of this conversation, right? I don't want to ever remove the responsibility of the traffickers, but just as it relates to our young people and having the capacity and just that brightness to feel like nothing is going to permeate. I know a situation that is unsafe. How do we get our young people there?
Ooh. So I think that we keep doing what we're doing. We give them opportunities to speak. We give them and we encourage them. So, a lot of times adults say that they want things to be youth led, but then they tell the youth what to say and what to do. As you could see, Myra came on and she said, "This is Big Mama. My friends call me the queen." I was like, I wasn't crazy about it, but hey, it's her show. If that's the way she wants to do it, she knows how to connect with, young people that are her age. I don't. So we have to give them the space to be who they are. We give them the skill. We show them how to, I show them how to speak. Will say my little spiel, but then I back up and I let them do it. And that's what we as adults have to be able to do. We give them the skill. We, show them how to do it. And then we back up and we allow them to put their spin on it, to add what they need to add. They're, in the day to day, they see what's happening. Sarah and I would have never known about, this AI thing and how it worked, but they know because they're in the day to day. And we have to be diligent about listening to what they say.
And to Tawanda's point, like we have to listen, not just pretend we're listening, not just say we're listening, not just say, oh, this is a safe space. It has to really be a safe space. It has to really feel like a safe space. And part of that is not trying to dictate how you say it, but just say it. And I think, talking about sort of what we talked about earlier, those behaviors, when we see those behaviors, don't always just call out the behavior. Call in and see what's going on that led to that behavior. What were you feeling before that happened? And stop perceiving everything that our young girls say and do as attitude and disrespect.
Again, I want to go, Sarah, thank you for saying that because it made me think of this. I want to encourage you to watch the full YouTube video. There is a spoiler alert that I will share with you. And this it brought tears to my eyes. One of the things that the girl said is, when you see my attitude, assume that it's more than just an attitude, that there's something else that's going on. And that was one of the things that they said about the warning signs. Not what's wrong with me, what has happened to me. And so I will encourage you to watch the full video so that you can get all of those nuggets that perhaps you weren't able to see today.
Can you all hear me?
Yes. We can.
Oh, okay. So I was gonna try to ask a question about the AI. I missed that. Could you do it again, please, with what the AI part was?
So what happened was there is technology that exists within AI where they can superpose a nude image or any kind of image onto a partial image of anything or anyone. So for instance, if I take off my video, this profile picture of me. someone could take that profile picture of me and just my face part of it and put it onto a nude body that maybe has close to the same skin tone and say that that's me. And then they could send that picture back to me and say, if you don't do A, B, C, and D, like it could be a sexual favor, it could be go rob a corner store, it could be money. So some kind of extortion. And if you don't do that, I'm going to post this picture all over. I'm going to post it on your school blog. I'm going to send it to the cheerleading squad. I'm going to send it
to your parents. And just the fact that it being on the online is scary enough. The app that they were using, what they were using to do that was a relatively innocent AI tool. It could be used for good or for bad. They worked through Discord to do communication, and then they were using Midjourney to actually create the images.
And it's not actually hard to do. You don't have to be an AI or tech wizard to do it. And when we contacted the FBI, they were on top of it. They already knew about it. And this was not something that was as surprising to them as it was to us.
So was there any on the information that you had up there, was any of that information on how they're using the AI?
So Take It Down has a little bit of information about it, but Take It Down is more of a resource to get the information taken down. But they do have a little information about on their website about some of this AI and how it works. And I did attend a workshop that was held by the Allegheny Court Project the day before this was brought into kind of our realm. And it was amazing stuff. I can't explain it all to you, but it was really amazing stuff. And I know Homeland Security has a little bit of information out there, but if you want to learn more, I would definitely dive deeper into researching AI, and in particular, like AI and sextortion and exploitation.
Okay. Oh, okay. And also on the peer-to-peer, I've seen peer-to-peer really work in mental health. They have really good programs where they have peer-to-peer, and the peers are usually the same age as the peers, the young people. And you know, I think it's great what you do, Tawanda. This is Phyllis Nettles, in case you didn't know.
I know, Ms. Nettles. How are you?
Good. Yourself?
I'm doing well.
Good. I just wanted to commend you about that. Is a good part that you do, is teaching the young ladies how, you know, how to be young ladies and teach. But they do need to come where the young ladies are that are being trafficking, especially that they've gone through it before. They have to bring it to them where they are, you know, so that they can really connect with them and really listen to them, you know, and really understand all of it. But I think they need to know too, like this different stuff here with the AI. They need to know all that, because one of the things, the main thing I do with my girls is, if somebody tell you not to tell me, that means you definitely need to tell me.
Yes.
You absolutely need to tell me, you know, because I'm the one that's going to protect you. This person is not the one. I'm the one who's been protecting you, and I'm going to take care of you regardless. So they know to come to me first. And so that's just one of the tactics I feel is a good tactic to get your child to come to you and talk to you about these things. Because and one of the things that's happening too, I just found out, is they're recruiting young girls from these group homes, these homes where they go, you know, these what do they call them, you know, these different group homes. They're recruiting them from there, and they're sending their peers to recruit them. Just
Right.
like
That's been going on. That's been going on for a while, but recruitment can take place. That's just one place.
Right.
There are so many places, but online
Yes.
is one of the places that really a lot goes on, because there's not really any adult supervision.
Let me.
Well, I just found out about a tool that works also. Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem. Let me just jump in, just because we are over time, and I want to respect people's times, especially because some people in this group may be waiting to get over to the Juvenile Justice Action Team. As I mentioned, we have a full day to day of nothing but BGEA activity. So thank you so much for joining. Sorry to cut you off, Ms. Phyllis. This will not be our last time having this conversation. Thank you to our girls, Bagala, Tawanda, please pass that along. Sarah, for sharing your story so vulnerably and with so much power, and also you, Ms. Tawanda, for your leadership and your advocacy. We will make sure that slide that Sarah had up, you all receive that, as well as any additional resources, and the link will be shared widely to the girls. We ask for you to share that with your network, share that with your organization, because it's not often that we get to hear from them in a way that holds so much weight and power. So thank you all. We will see you next
Oh,
month.
can I just say one more thing? It's about, I just found out about Google has a way that parents can know everything that's going on in their kids. They're on their phone, on all their different technology, that they can get a note through Google that comes to the child's phone. I just went through it was talking to a parent, because that's what I do, is talk to people, and they were able to. He overheard his son, 8 years old, this man trying to lure him, and it was with the headset, the headset one, was trying to lure him, and the son said, yeah, I'm ready to come. And he came in there and interrupted and stopped it. And it was only because, so check into Google, because I haven't checked into it yet, but I'm going to check into it and find out how to do it, because every parent should not be able to do this.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that tip.
Thank you, ladies. I truly appreciate it.
Bye-bye.